recent years, there have been increasing knowledge of mental health and how it affects the total well-being of individuals. Depression is one of the most common mental health disorders, noted to be one of the leading causes of suicide, particularly among young adults. The symptoms are diverse and can be confusing for a sufferer, often characterized by persistent sadness, mood swings, lack of interest in livelihood, as well as poor concentration, having far-reaching impact on the ability of a sufferer to function and live a rewarding life. According to an independent survey by Health Think Analytics, about 7 million Nigerians are said to be suffering from depression. On this episode of Health Options, we shall be examining depression among other mental health disorders. What are the likely triggers of depression? What are the coping mechanisms for sufferers and their caregivers? Also, can a sufferer overcome depression? These questions and more we hope to find answers to in our interactions with mental health experts, plus our complimentary segment. Many thanks for joining us. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim. A study conducted among different populations reports a higher prevalence of depression among young people and higher among females. Reducing the burden, however, has become a challenge as the culture of silence allows the disease to breed, as many fear stigmatization and so remain in their closet while the disease takes the better part of their reasoning and view to life many times. To provide professional perspective on our discussion today, I will be speaking with a consultant psychiatrist. It is a discussion you don't want to miss.
Curious about how government policies on healthcare are faring? Do you enjoy learning about wellness concept and the many options available? Then watch Health Options on the NTA.
Mr. President has led by example. Take the COVID-19 vaccine.
Somebody can say, hey, I woke up this morning, I felt some tingling in my hand, some weakness, my face was, I couldn't speak well. That's a warning stroke, and it shouldn't be ignored.
The carrots contains carotene. Tomatoes is a colored plant. It has carotene. Pepper has carotene.
50% of our diet should be green vegetables and fruits.
Join leading experts on both orthodox and alternative medicine for all the enlightenment you need for a healthier you.
Thanks for joining us on the program. I am Rabi Abdullah.
Joining me now is a consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Olusegun Soyinbo. Many thanks for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you, Sarwa, for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Okay. Now, give us a little insight into what mental health generally is all about.
Well, mental health is a component of health. It's an important component of health. Health itself is defined as not merely the absence of disease, but complete physical, mental, and psychological well-being. So when we talk about mental health itself, it is also not just the absence of a mental illness. And to put that into perspective, in an environment where people think that mental illness only comprises of somebody stripping naked, dancing in the market, or something like that. No. So it's not merely the absence of a mental illness. It is a state of health in which a person can, one, cope with normal stresses of life. You will agree with me that in life we will always be faced with stress, oftentimes unexpected stress. You will not know when there will be fuel scarcity, you will not know when there will be flooding, you do not know when there will be traffic or there will not be traffic. So there will be people have to cope with normal stresses of life. It's also a state of health in which a person is able to realize his or her own potentials. Every one of us has got some potential in us, and if a person is not mentally stable, they may not be able to fulfill those potentials. It's also a state of health in which a person is able to contribute meaningfully to society. You, by being a broadcaster, you are contributing to society. Myself, by being a doctor, I'm contributing to society. So you put all of these things together, and that's what mental health is about.
Okay, you mentioned stress earlier. Is that a trigger to mental health before we go forward?
Oftentimes, yes. Most mental illnesses will be triggered by one stress factor or the other. And then when we say stress also, we should bear in mind that stress is not always a negative event. There are also positive events that people can find stressful. Oftentimes, it is the negative events that we are more concerned about, like bereavement, losing a loved one, losing some money, and things like that can make people quite burdened, and then they will have some mental health issues. However, even positive factors like wedding, graduation, things that people generally are happy about. Let's take, for example, postpartum depression. We expect that when a woman has a child, she's supposed to be happy. But then you find that some women have children and then they become ill with what we call a postpartum blues or postpartum depression, where they are very, very unhappy. That's just an example of how even what is supposed to be a positive event can turn out to be stressful and affect a person's mental health.
Okay, I mentioned in my introduction, that depression is more common among young people and then female. Why is that? Why are we seeing more of that among this group of people?
Now, these things come from population studies. The first thing is, let us establish that this exists before we go into the why of it. So depression, like you rightly said, is commoner in females by as much as a factor of 2 to 1. For every one male that you find depressed, you'll probably find 2 females who are depressed. And there are multiple factors that have been adduced to explain this higher prevalence amongst females. One of them will be hormonal factors, okay? All the hormonal differences that come with puberty and then pregnancy and then delivery, breastfeeding, and then menopause and things like that. You also look at some of the extra burdens that women bear, for example, caring for young children, sometimes being economically disadvantaged, suffering abuse, physical, psychological, sexual abuse over the course of time. So multiple factors like that have been used to explain why you have more prevalence in females. We're also beginning to see more and more depressive illnesses in younger people, and that again has to do with how the world is evolving. Technology, urbanization, social isolation, increased pressure from all sides, pressure from parents, pressure from school, pressure from society, etc.
Okay, so let's take a breather here. When we come back, we shall continue with the discussion. Stay.
Allow these children to grow.
Yes.
Many of them, you have somebody 14, 15 going to the university. Where are you going?
Information technology is the future.
Hello, a warm welcome to you. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguela.
If you don't create that awareness and you don't bring the young minds to identify that there are benefits in astronomy.
We have had experiences through various leadership strata, bringing us to where we can
Platform engages guests on topical issues for national interest.
We have cases like that. We ought to protect children and also make parents realize that they have a primary responsibility.
Join us every Thursday at 2 p.m. on the network service of the NTA.
Many thanks for being there. Okay, now, Doctor, like we were saying now, how do we manage depression?
Well, the first thing I want our viewers to know is that depression is treatable. Okay. It is not an untreatable illness. It is not an illness that anybody should be should stigmatize another person for having. Okay, so it is very much treatable. Usually we'll say on a general basis that we'll treat depression depending on its severity, usually by a combination of medications and what we call psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is just talking to a patient, exploring their difficulties and looking for solutions together or how to cope better with those difficulties. A lot of people go around these days saying they want therapy, they want therapy, they want therapy. That is not the only treatment available for depression. People should please work with their doctors to come to an agreement on what is suitable. What is suitable for Mr. A may not be suitable for Mr. B. And like I said earlier, it depends on the severity of the illness. For example, if somebody is severely depressed, the person may not even be able to participate in psychotherapy. That kind of person may need to take medications to bring them up to a level where they can meaningfully engage with a person. Psychotherapy may involve giving assignments, giving tasks to a person on how to cope with certain difficulties. And remember, we said that depression is an illness that makes you not want to do anything, that makes you not want to go out and not to have energy. How then do you cope with the rigors of psychotherapy? So the summary of what I'm saying is that it is treatable by both medications and psychotherapy.
Okay, you mentioned therapy now. At what point should a person suffering from depression or somebody that doesn't feel well go to see a therapist? And can one just walk in and say he wants to see a therapist? How accessible are these treatments?
Yes, people can walk in and say, I want therapy. If anybody recognizes that they are having any of the symptoms that we've talked about, they should go in and talk to a doctor who can show them the proper direction to go. A person should not say, oh, I don't have a psychiatrist around me. No, go in and see any doctor close to you. They will point you in the right direction to go to.
Okay, so now beyond clinical help, now you mentioned earlier, now what can the society, how can caregivers now support people who are suffering from this kind of mental ailment?
Thank you very much. This is a very loaded question because you are talking about caregivers, you are talking about society. Let us start from the broader picture and talk about society. Society will include government, it will include individuals. If we go and look at all the factors that tip people into depression, note that not everybody is the same. The factor that will push Mr. A into a depressed mood is different from the one that will push another person into a depressed mood. But addressing those general factors like economic improvement will help curb incidence of depression, because whether we like it or not, there are people whose depression stem from economic disadvantage. So if you have improvement in the economy, we'll just be saving some people. If you look at suicide, for example, there has to be a societal approach also. If we know that this is the common means that people harm themselves, then government has to make a move to say, oh, we ban this or we restrict access to so and so items so that people can't use it to harm themselves. Then when it comes to us as individuals, we must remember to be our brother's keepers always. If somebody has malaria and the body is shaking, the person is vomiting, the person may still summon some courage and energy to go to the hospital. But a depressed person may need somebody to physically assist them and say, look, I'm going to go to hospital with you. And let's talk about women. You see, even when a woman is ill, she's still bothered about the care of other people. So a depressed woman may not go to hospital because she's saying, who will look after my children if I go to the hospital? So if somebody comes around to say, look, I'll babysit for you, follow Auntie B to hospital, you would have helped the person. So let's not stigmatize. And then let us also talk briefly about causes, attribution of mental illnesses to spiritual causes, because that's one thing that prevents people from seeking help in the right places. Because people will not say, come, just snap out of it, just push it out of your mind, what's wrong with you, just use faith and you'll be healed and all that. We are not against faith healing, but like I always say to people, if a witch makes you have an accident and you break your leg, it is still the orthopedic surgeon that will fix the leg. So let's say it is even the witch that has made the person depressed. The person should not be denied the benefit of having treatment in hospital.
So we all have a role to play here.
We all have a role to play.
Many thanks, Dr. Olusegun. I have been speaking with Dr. Olusegun Soyombo on tackling depression in our society. Next, we bring you our complimentary segment. As we promised from the last edition, we'll continue with the second and final part of our understanding of aqua therapy with Dr. John Tor Agbedi.
Aqua simply means water. Whether you're talking about water therapy, you're talking about hydrotherapy. Hydro means water. They commonly, they refer to the same, method of doing things. Only that the specific model differs. When you talk about aqua therapy, you are focusing more on swimming pool with numerous advantages that I have earlier alluded to. Then when you're talking about hydrotherapy, you're looking at it in a more confined way. Take for example, this is a form of hydrotherapy devised and presented by way of hydrogen water bottle. You see this bottle, it is actually generating hydrogen, that once you are drinking this water, you are taking hydrogen. The water is also, as it's being generated, it's also converted to what you call structured water. Structured water is the shape and form of water that the body cells will absorb easily. So we say that the structure of water is hydrophobic and hexagonal. And with that kind of structure, once you take it, the body cells absorb it quickly. You can say I take almost about 6 to 8 of this in a day, and the 6 to 8 gives you about up to 3 liters. Up to 3 liters. Ideally, we are recommended to take up to 2 to 3 liters. But if you are not taking a structured water that is also has been changed in the form with hydrogen, you notice that when you take water, your stomach is kind of heavy. You wouldn't expel it, as quickly as you should. But because this water is actually structured and is hydrogenated and it is alkaline in the sense that the water I put in makes it alkaline. I'm not saying that the bottle will make the water alkaline, but I use specific type of water that is alkaline. So with this, once you take it, it absorbs faster in your body. So it helps with detoxification. It is also anti-inflammatory, and most importantly, it helps with production of energy, because hydrogen, being the smallest molecule that you can find, gets into the cell and goes to the part of the cell known as the mitochondria that is responsible for production of energy. So when you take this, you see that your energy level get boosted, your clarity of thought gets boosted. You are able to excrete, filter. The kidneys are able to filter this water faster than the ordinary water that is, not really structured or hydrogenated. So these are the benefits. Here again, these are one of the new things that are coming up in holistic medicine. Maybe 20-30 years ago, nobody ever knew the benefits of hydrogen water, but with molecular advancement in medicine, some of these things are coming up. So you now talk about hydrogen water, you talk about hydrotherapy, you talk about phototherapy, and so many of them.
What is the difference now between the water we drink and this water now? Does it have any effect on our body? I know you explained the effect of this now on our body. Can we now move to hydro water? How possible is that?
You see, hydrogen water simply means that you have this special bottle and you see this generator. It is generating hydrogen that it is mixing with the water you take. Now, you've raised a very important point. What we consider as healthy water must have 3 properties. It's not just any water that you will take. And here again, let me back up and emphasize that depending on the level of the society or who you are looking at. Just during the last time I was home in the village, we've even dug a borehole for our people, but some of them said they don't want to take it. It actually causes the gastric irritation. But when you come to me, what is quality water to me must be structured, which I had explained, must be alkaline, which I had explained the importance, because our body operates best in an alkaline environment. That is to say that the pH must be not greater than 7.4. But most of this water you take, they're actually acidic. And don't ask me to give you the names. I'm not going to call any of them. But if you test any of this water, you will not be taking it. Then the third component that makes up quality and healthy water is what we call nano-pure. That water must be free of microbes. It must be free. So you see, that's why it is not just any water you want to take. Look at the purification process. So most of these water plants these days, that they must be using ozone. Ozone is that a product that kind of purifies the water. It kills all the bacteria, it attenuates all the viruses, and any microbes that ozone comes in contact with, it will kill it. So your good water must be structured, it must be alkaline, it must also be ozonated, treated with ozone. If you go to the West now, most public water treatment plants, they no longer use fluorine. Fluorine, it is what we used to use in the past, and it has its own toxicological implication. So it is ozonated water that is really good. So if nothing else, the public should know that there are 3 properties of healthy water that you should be talking. The water must be alkaline, it must be nano-pure, and it should be structured.
And of course, that is part of the hydrotherapy.
Yes, it is part of the hydrotherapy.
So on a final note now, what is your advice to people in adapting hydrotherapy as a way of life? I know you have, but I want you to re-emphasize now. A lot of people might not know the importance of that to their health now. I want you to re-emphasize that.
Well, as I earlier said, these terms are used interchangeably. You talk about aquatic therapy, then this. But what we are saying, the take-home message is this: let's focus on hydrotherapy, which is taking water in our body. Why this is important? Over 70% of our body mass is really made up of water. So this water is what we use in a lot of chemical reaction. It is the water that provides the medium that forms part of the blood that transports the micronutrients in your body all over to the cell, that the cell will be able to use in production, in producing energy. Also, it is the medium that is also provided by water that is even used to excrete some of the waste products that our body has accumulated. So I cannot emphasize more than this: quality water or water therapy or hydrotherapy in this context must be viewed more seriously. Use things like hydrogen water. Make sure the water you drink is actually ozonated and it is alkaline.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And that's about it for this episode of Health Options. But before we go, on behalf of the production crew, I congratulate Head of Health Desk, Rabi Abdullah, on her award as an outstanding healthcare media personality.
It inspired me to do more because there's still so much left to do. The health sector is quite wide, and we know that we're a nation with numerous health challenges, and the interventions are never enough. So as media, we just have to keep doing the little we can to make a difference.
Don't forget to catch up with these and other episodes of the program on our YouTube channel. You can also send in your comments and suggestions at nta.gov.ng. Many thanks for watching. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim. Please take care of yourself.